This is College Hockey Southwest Weekly, your source for college hockey in the desert Southwest, part of the IcetimeHockeySW.com family.
Welcome in, hockey fans in the desert Southwest. College Hockey Southwest Weekly on the road again. Paul Hornstein's locked down on Long Island in his spatial studio.
Yeah,
I am
it's about almost the same where you are.
I am on the 32nd floor at Planet Hollywood this week, doing a little Vegas action. We did some Rebels Rising stuff today. Got out and talked a little ACHA D1 hockey. The Rebels are making the 6-hour trip from here down to Tucson to play the University of Arizona. Paul didn't even cover his ears on that one. That tells you how attentive he is today, folks. So get ready for that.
I will never acknowledge them. And...
So they're making the trip down there. It's been raining in Vegas. I'll tell you a little story. We arrived yesterday about 4 o'clock. It was 81 degrees, and the news had nothing but record high temperature talk. Right now it's about 57. It's been raining all night and most of the day. There's another storm forecast to come in later tonight. Yeah, not your typical Vegas weather, but it is winter in the desert, so we take whatever we get. I'm told 1 to 2 feet of snow on Mount Charleston before the storm ends tomorrow sometime. So we'll see what happens. But nice, toasty, warm here at Planet Hollywood. Always great to be in Vegas and any one of the Caesars properties. We always thank them for the accommodations and the ability to get up to Vegas. We talked head assistant coach today at UNLV. I talked to one of their star players, Kirk Underwood. Also had a chance to visit with Stephen Marsh, who is their media guy, and visited with superfan Kat Craner. So a lot of good stuff coming up in the Rebels Rising feature coming up the end of the week.
I'm sorry, what was that? I'm looking for my little violin to hear so I can play my little tiny violin about you complaining about 81 and 57. And yeah, okay.
Okay, so we got that out of the way. There is no ASU.
You're from Minnesota, right?
Yeah, long time ago, Paul Hornstein. This blood got real thin a long time ago, my friend.
I'm just saying. It's not like...
Yeah, keep saying it. A windbreaker is too much jacket for me.
Oh, man. Stop it.
All right. So no ASU NCAA hockey this week. They are on hiatus with this 2-game break, which Coach Powers told us last week he was very thankful for as the way it turned out. It was not planned, but it turned out to be kind of a blessing. So we don't have a whole lot of ASU stuff to talk about, but a couple things I do want to talk about. We do know when, where, and how to get tickets for ASU Harvard at Great Ice Park in Irvine, California. And I'm putting the pat on the back directly to you, my friend, for digging in with Harvard and getting some stuff done. Congratulations on that one.
I didn't really do much other than ask a question.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You must have asked it in such a way that you got a direct answer quickly, because I don't know that I've ever seen anybody respond as quickly as – is it Jeff Weinstein? Is that how I'm –
Yeah, he's the hockey SID over at Harvard.
Shout out, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate it.
If you're listening, man, I got to tell you, bang up job. I am so impressed by the way you responded, not only to Paul, but to my response as well. So thanks a lot, Jeff. We appreciate it. Look forward to meeting you in person on your belated honeymoon in Anaheim, California, December 27th or so.
The SoCal Clash.
Yeah, gotta love it, right?
As they are calling it. I'm just glad they got the information out there. You know, it's not a lot of time, but you know, hopefully there are enough alumni and such in the area. I mean, it is LA-ish. That, you know, both schools will have, you know, reach out really hard and fast to their alumni groups in that area. And they'll get the building at least, you know, 85, 90% filled. I think it holds about, 3,500 people, I think they said.
Yeah, I think I've been told 5,000, but I don't know if it's...
I don't know. I don't think it's that much. No, I don't think it's that many people.
But it's a good... It's you know, comparing it to Oceanside, it's triple or 4 times the amount of people. So that's a good thing. the uniqueness part of it, Paul, is the fact that Harvard decided to select SoCal as a destination to what we thought was going to be a 4-team tournament. Turned out to be just a 2-game series against ASU over the Christmas holidays.
Right.
We're looking forward to it because we're going to be out there. We're going to be doing
I'm
some
looking
stuff
forward to
there.
it too.
Zach Bondurant, our photographer, will be there, so we'll have our professional man on site. That's
Well,
always
some
nice
of us
to
have to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
So yeah, it's going to be a good 2-game series. It's going to be a needed 2-game series because I think both teams are going to need those 2 wins.
well,
It's going to be a pretty hard fought battle.
the mindset that I have is I'm very curious, and I don't know if we'll ever. Very curious to. I mean, Harvard obviously is a national brand. I'm very curious to know how this location was chosen because they could have played anywhere.
Yep.
I mean, obviously not in Vegas where you are because they already have their own tournament set up. But Harvard could have reached out anywhere to try and play the 4-team tournament that they originally set up or this 2-game series. They could have played it anywhere. So I'm just very curious to know why they chose Southern California.
Since we don't know that yet, and maybe we'll get answers to that down the road, but since we don't formally know that, nobody's come out, let's speculate. Here's my speculation. There is a lot of hockey talent in California, and it is an untouched area for the most part. There's a lot of kids that are going on to the national development team, that are going on to junior programs around the world. By that, I say Canada and the United States. North America, let's put it that way. So there's a lot of talent out there, and I think smart coaches of NCAA hockey teams realize that there's talent that's being overlooked, and they're all fighting to try to get in there and at least get their brand out, ASU included.
Yeah,
so that's
sure.
my speculation on the whole deal. And,
Listen, I'm
and
sure
why
that
not
that's
go to
part of it.
California? If you're in Harvard, why not go to California at Christmas time?
I'm not arguing. I didn't say it was a bad decision. I was
and
curious.
Nothing against Michigan Tech, but you're going to go play tournament there? Houghton, Michigan in December? I don't.
No.
Okay. So that's why we're speculating that they went to Southern California. Plus, it's a close proximity for ASU, so it makes sense.
Yeah, but, I mean, they could have went to places like Dallas or
Yeah.
Houston or they could have went to, any number of places that, they could have done this in Florida too. They could have done this, in say, just pick a weird place. Not that it's a weird place, but maybe they could in New Orleans. Who knows? Just there's plenty of Harvard alumni all over the place. I was curious, Yeah,
and that's a good question. So we'll ask it again, see if we get any answers on it. But in the meantime, we know the game times. We know the tickets are available. We know the website. We're going to publicize it as much as we can, building up to it. So we'll talk a little bit about that. After that 2-game series, though, Paul, a lot of things are happening, right? Here in Vegas, when I'm sitting here, I'm talking about the Fortress Invitational, of which used to be the Ice Vegas Invitational, which the first-time ever champions are the Arizona State Sun Devils. That will never be taken away from them.
Nope.
That will always be in history books.
Yep.
This year's Fortress Invitational is bringing some teams. Who you got?
One of the games is Ohio State versus Army, and the other game is Cornell versus Providence. The first matchup, Ohio State and Army, would be a David and Goliath scenario.
Right.
Cornell and Providence, a little bit, at least on paper, a little bit more evenly matched. But you better come to play against Army because anytime you play a service academy team in any sport, they are going to play until the final whistle goes. And
because there's something called discipline there, right, Paul?
I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, So, that'll be a good tournament too. You hopefully will get, any of these holiday tournaments. You want them to be good. You want to showcase the sport. I know that Cornell and BU are playing the annual college game that they play every year at Madison Square Garden this year. And that usually draws a full house. And, that they've been doing that now for about 5 or 6 years. And, that's how you expand the game, to be honest with you.
Well, you know what? You led me into something that I was going to not really expound on too much in this show, but I want to bring this up because I had a chance to visit today with Jeff Holbrook, who is the guy that is in charge, basically, of bringing the 1980 Olympic team, which we just were able to finally announce last week, to Las Vegas for Relive the Miracle 2020. Tickets are available for that event
really?
at relivethemiracle2020.com.
Nice.
There's some memorabilia that you can buy, all kinds of good stuff. But I had a chance to visit with Jeff today. We're going to have the feature up, and what we're going to be doing is a regular feature now until February 22nd, when the big event happens, 40 years after the gold medal at Lake Placid for the 1980 Olympic team. Here's my point. I asked Jeff today, I said, how much did the 1980 gold medal winning hockey team have to do with growth of hockey out west, specifically in the desert Southwest? And he's got a unique perspective because he used to be the former agent of Wayne Gretzky. You know that guy? Whereas 99
Never heard of him.
Was pretty good.
Never heard of him.
Anyway, he said that he always used to have conversations, and people used to have conversations with Wayne about when you were traded to LA, that really set everything on fire in the Sun Belt region of America. And Wayne said, yeah, he said, I that had something to do with it. But he said, I also give a lot of credit to the 1980 gold medal team because they really put hockey on the map around the United States. And so for Jeff to say that, he's going like, hey, yeah, these guys were kind of there too, doing something at a very tough time in our history as a country to go out and beat the Russians the way they were in the middle of a Cold War, beat them on the hockey rink a week after they'd been pounded 10-0. So he gives a little credit to the 1980 Olympic team.
10-3.
Yeah, well, okay, 10-3.
I'm sorry.
I say 10-0. I'm sorry, 10-3. You're right. Anyway, so.
But I'm sorry. I don't want anybody to come in. Let him get away. You know they let him get away with that. No.
You got it. Good one.
But
listen. Anyway, my point is, hockey's expanding, right? And the last year Vegas hosted the Hall of Fame game between Minnesota and North Dakota, two extremely storied programs, I should say.
Right.
They came to Vegas and they shocked Vegas as to, first of all, the number of beers that they could consume because they did that, and Vegas ran out of beer 3 days in a row, I believe, during that game. So they impressed Vegas on that fact, but they also impressed on how college hockey is supposed to be embraced. And the reason I say embraced is North Dakota put on that event. They're also just announced this week that they're putting on another one in Nashville next year.
Against Penn State.
Yeah. So the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame game is now being moved around, and North Dakota and North Dakota being the team that really drives it, mostly because their fans travel.
Well, that's it. Listen, my personal feelings aside, North Dakota fans put their money where their mouth is, and they go. They go. It doesn't matter where they go.
And it doesn't matter if they're going to a national championship game or if they're going to a Hall of Fame game.
No, they're going. They're going.
And doesn't matter if they've got Jonathan Taves or they've got a team of rebuilds.
Yeah,
they go.
They're going.
It doesn't matter. So that's a lesson for every college hockey team out there and their fan bases is you go, you support your team like a college hockey team, and you reap the benefits when they win, and you suffer with them when they lose, but you're still there as a fan. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. I just sat down.
It's okay. Well, listen, I don't know how much you want to get into the effects of the 80 Olympic team were on the game of hockey here before Thanksgiving, or you want to get into it a little bit closer to the actual event itself. But it not only put hockey, let's face it, it definitely was a landmark event in terms of the sport in the United States. And that goes double for what it did for college hockey and the respect that college hockey got and the number of players that played in the NHL from colleges before that tournament was was very
Slim.
small, very small. After that, the NHL was like, we must have been missing something here because, now there are tons and tons of players from colleges in the NHL. And that was not the case before February of 1980 at all. So,
nope. Totally agree. So we won't get into too much detail on that. We'll save that for my interview with Jeff, and then we'll relive the miracle ourselves as we move up. Our little show leading up to it from now until February 22nd is going to be known as Do You Believe in Miracles? We're going to be asking that question to a lot of different people, a lot of different hockey people, and just kind of get their opinion. Yeah. Well, and so when we talk about and bringing us all the way back to the NCAA part of this again, it's critical. Coach Powers has said this over and over and over again. There aren't enough stalls for NCAA caliber hockey players, and we need to grow. All of us need to grow the college hockey sport so that there are enough stalls to fit the caliber of player that the youth and high school and junior ranks are producing, right? Some of these kids are forced to go, to another place and play Division III or to go play the ACHA level because they don't have a team that they can get on, but yet they might be NCAA caliber players. So why would you reach out to a place like Anaheim? That's a good place to maybe prod the bear a little bit and see if UCLA or USC or one of these schools could have a little interest down the road. You and I have talked this over. I'm sorry, but it's going to be a while before they go NCAA, and here's why. Coach Powers said this as well, and I take a lot in stake in what he said about this. You have to be a successful ACHA D1 program. Not even successful. You've got to win a national championship in his estimation before you can make that jump, because he did win. And you saw what happened the first 2 years. They got their butts handed to them many times. So you can't expect to go from an ACHA D2 program, and just because your name is USC or UCLA and you slap $100 million into a program, that doesn't mean you're going to have the caliber of play that's going to be able to compete at the NCAA level right away. So it's a building process. I think Coach Powers has outlaid a plan for people to follow. It's being followed right here in Vegas, where I'm at right now. UNLV is following it almost to a T as far as how they run their program and what they want to do. But here's what happened. Here's what's happened at UNLV. They've lost 5 in a row. They're headed to Tucson with a 5-game losing streak, and they lost in a tournament they won last year in Chicago, and they lost a North Dakota trip. They played tough. They played close, but that's not winning a national championship at the ACHA D1 level.
Nope.
So you got to figure that out first, and that's in my estimation what's going to hold up the expansion. But kudos to Harvard for getting this going in Southern California, and kudos to ASU for going along and being the foe, I guess you'd say. They're the visiting team at this.
Focusing this back a little bit on ASU, they were off last week and managed to go from 12th in the pairwise to 10th in the pairwise.
Right.
I don't know exactly how. I'm not the mathematician, but whatever formula they use, that's what that's what happened. And I think that some of the questions that people had about ASU this year in terms of what their schedule looked like, as it's turning out, at least early on before we hit Thanksgiving here, their schedule is clearly much more than representative. They're playing 6 different teams that are ranked at the current moment in the top 20. And by the way, the 50 of you that vote in the USCHO poll, you guys do know that ASU swept Quinnipiac, right? You guys know that, right? I'm not sitting here saying ASU should be in the top 20, but Quinnipiac got 5 times as many votes or voting points in the top 20 than ASU did. Hello? Am I? Anybody there?
Hello? No, there's not.
I guess not, because like I said, I'm not sitting here saying ASU should be in the top 20, but they have to get more votes than Quinnipiac, don't they?
Yeah.
Don't they?
Paul, you're preaching to the choir here because I've been saying
that just
that
makes no sense to me at all.
No, I've been saying that since day one, that they're not giving any respect. They came in and opened the season without a returning starting. You can say, I mean, Evan DeBrouwer was a goaltender on the team, but he didn't play.
Listen,
I'm not. So you come back with this, and you start them at number 20, and then they go 6-4 leading up to the week before Thanksgiving, and they're not worthy of enough votes to even be close to the top 20.
I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to. I mean, they're 23 if you ranked it all the way out, and I'm not trying to get into who came back and who didn't come back.
Hold on a minute. This
is how they swept them. Right. And by the way, they didn't just sweep them.
Yeah.
The Saturday night game, the second game of that 2-game series, they crushed them.
Yeah.
So this is part of the issue. And when people talk about the polls as compared to the pairwise, this is why they use the pairwise and not polls to determine who goes to NCAA tournament. And
Thank God for that.
You could sit here and argue that ASU shouldn't be 10th in the pairwise. You could make a legitimate argument for that. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, the formula works, the formula doesn't work. It's what they use. And right now on ASU's schedule, just as we sit here today, the week before Thanksgiving, 12 of ASU's opponents on their schedule this year are in the top 30 of the pairwise. That's the top half of college hockey. And of those 12 teams, 10 of them are in the top 20. You have Minnesota State at number 2 in the pairwise, Harvard at number 3 in the pairwise, Denver at 7, Omaha at 9, Michigan State 12, Clarkson 14, Michigan Tech and Wisconsin are tied with Duluth. They're in at basically the high teens, and ASU is sitting there at 10. So this schedule, which people were and listen, no, this is what you got to play, because you don't know how it's going to turn out once you actually get on the ice and not on paper. But you know as well as I do, there are going to be people that are like, how can ASU be 10th in the pairwise?
Yeah.
And once again, and we don't know yet how that loss on opening night to Mercyhurst is going to hurt them, because Mercyhurst is in the mid-50s somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay? So, but the fact of the matter remains, it still has to be done on the ice. But as of right now, they're still kind of in the mix. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was surprised. When this came out this week and the weekend was over and ASU went from 12 to 10, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I was surprised. And I'm sure that a part of it has to do with the fact that it's only 10 games into the season. But it does give you an idea of just how tough their schedule is actually going to be this year as opposed to what we thought going in.
Let me tell you about that schedule right now and how it looks. Vermont, followed by Denver, followed by Michigan State, followed by Omaha. Where do you see a break in the action in those 4 weekends?
Don't.
No, and then when that's over with, you got Christmas, and then you get Harvard right out of it. Then Harvard's done, and you come back for the new year, and you got Michigan Tech. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. But I want you to focus on one number for me.
1.
18.
You got it exactly.
18.
1. You said it. Focus on one number. 1.
18 wins, and that's going to be enough to do it. So you got to knock them off. Yes, you do. You got to knock them off one at a time.
That's right.
But as you knock them off one at a time, when 18 of them have been knocked down, 18 of your number ones, you're going to be talking about a team that's in the national tournament again. And we'll have plenty of stuff to talk about. But right now, the Sun Devils are trying to get rested, recovered. this is the first time I can remember Coach ever talking to me and saying that their team was beat up. I mean, he told us last week on the Powers play, and of course, folks, this week we will not have a Powers play or a pitchfork because he gave the guys some time off, and they did not have media availability this week.
Well, they're not even. Well, the coaches are not even around. They're out recruiting.
Yeah, like they should be.
Yeah. So,
well, I don't know. Not only are they out recruiting, but the players made some trips too. I saw a bunch of them on social media. Have been going all over the place. I think Connor Stewart came out to see you, didn't he? He was wandering around New York City last weekend. So.
I have no idea because I don't. I'm not gonna. Okay. I don't pay any attention.
Okay, Booster, you were not buying dinners for people, were you?
They probably have more money than I do. They gotta buy them for me. They gotta buy them for me. But by the way, the school did not announce players that signed letters of intent this week, but the players kind of went out and did it on their own.
Yeah, they do.
Social media.
That's typical in the fall. It really is.
You know, so we know of at least 3 players that put out on their social media feed that eventually got around to mine because.
And here's when we find out in April, which is their official signing day. That's when they let us all know officially who they are. Right. We're gonna find that out, but what we don't know is we know the players that are coming in. We don't know when they're coming in. And that's what Coach Powers will sit down with each player and determine where they fit into the schedule for ASU athletics. But yeah, congratulations to those guys just to make that commitment. A lot of them want to get it off of their plates and shoulders and minds before they start their season or too far into their season. So when they're able to do that in November, that just gives them a chance to clear their head and say, okay, I'm going to be a Sun Devil. I'm going full bore in my whatever team I'm playing on right now.
Yeah, I don't want to have to worry about it. So.
Yep. Okay, so that's all the good news with that. We talked a little bit about the Fortress Invitational, which is coming up here on the 3rd and 4th of January, right at T-Mobile Arena, of which I was at last night to watch an exceptional hockey game. We'll tie this back to the Desert Southwest because Austin Matthews was in town, which is part of the reason why I wanted to make this trip up here was to see him and see how he played against the Golden Knights, and I wanted to see what the Golden Knights were like because they've been struggling, but they came out, they won a game, they got a 6-0 shutout of Calgary the 2 days before on Sunday, and then they won last night 4-2. Now Austin Matthews has picked up and he's moved back home. If you can do that for a day or two,
they're there already. So
yeah, he's in Glendale. And tomorrow night, we'll see him play the Coyotes, and we'll see how things match up there. They'll be there with a new coach, as we announced earlier. Mike Babcock was released of his duties today. And we'll see what happens. But there's a lot of talent on that Maple Leaf team. It's just that it's all forward latent talent. And right now, I'm going to tell you right now, and then you can tell me what you want to say. But I think 3 of the best 5 goaltenders in the National Hockey League reside in the Desert Southwest. When you got Marc-Andre Fleury and you got Darcy Kemper and you've got Antti Ranta, and let me tell you this, Ranta and Kemper came off back-to-back shutout victories last night, and Marc-Andre was phenomenal again last night. I want for somebody to show me somebody that's better in net than those 3.
I don't know. Do they have a 15-game point streak? I don't know. Do they? Any of those teams? Because I don't think they do. So.
Who are you talking about?
I don't know, some random team somewhere. I think they won 4 cups in a row once, but right. What do I know? No, it's always interesting to watch, to get glimpses of the crowds when the Maple Leafs head back there to the Valley and play the Coyotes. Coyotes are playing well, so obviously that lets them sell more tickets. And you know that this is probably one of the first games that gets heavy ticket sales when the schedule comes out, because people want to see Austin Matthews play in person. So that's always an interesting time, and maybe as much in the seats as it is on the ice, but because you'll see a lot of blue and white there tomorrow.
Here's
just because of that.
A funny observation that I made last night prior to the game. I watched both teams warm up, and I quoted on Twitter. I said, I got a feeling this game tonight is going to come down between whether Austin Matthews wins it for Toronto or Marc-Andre Fleury wins it for Vegas. So everybody's off the ice. The horn is sounded. They're trying to get the Zambonis on the ice. Austin Matthews and Marc-Andre are basically having a stare down without staring at each other. Neither one of them is leaving the ice. They're both just sitting there. And finally, Austin Matthews skated over the puck and tossed it to a fan over the glass. And then when he did that, Marc-Andre went to the bench and they finally went off. But it was about 30 seconds to a minute after everybody else had left the rink that those two finally left. And in the end, Matthews and the Leafs came on really hard, but Marc-Andre had a little over 5.5 periods of shutout hockey. And there were some spectacular saves. One that's probably going to go down as a save of the century. It was unreal.
Save of the year anyway, but yeah, I'm really sad that the Maple Leafs lost yesterday. I'm really, really sad about that.
I can tell. You're heartbroken.
Yeah, I am.
But okay. So NCAA hockey. You got anything more to talk about this week? It's been a light week, but
it's been a very light week. Your boys from Duluth finally got back off the schneid there a little bit. They were struggling there for a while. North Dakota and Denver had a pretty big series at Denver, and it looks like what are they calling them now? I don't know. I don't want to.
Fighting Hawks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I don't think they call them that back there either, except
no.
But
trust me, they don't.
No, I guarantee you they don't.
And there's an alternative jersey that they don't have, the team doesn't have, and can't wear, but the fans have.
Oh, I bet
you know what I'm talking about?
I do. Looks a little bit like a Blackhawks jersey.
Yeah, and let me also tell you that the alumni don't know them as the Fighting Hawks.
No, I know that.
Enough said about that, but that team is really good. They recruited really well. They brought in some really highly touted freshmen, and let me tell you from past coverage, UND is not a team that starts fast. So if they're able to start fast and finish like they normally do, that spells a lot of problems for teams in the NCHC and elsewhere.
Yeah, well, Western Michigan was suffering a little bit this week. Cornell and Harvard, even though they got a later start than most, are the only two unbeaten teams left. Trying to think here. Penn State, they were blowing people out this week. I did get to see some of Michigan State and Michigan. They kind of adjusted their schedule for the Big Ten Network, so I got to see some of those two games over the weekend. Michigan State was actually losing to Michigan on the Thursday night game, and they were down a couple of goals, came back to win that game 4-3. So, they're going to be dangerous too. Just another team that is on ASU's schedule that is still going to be very dangerous. Clarkson looks really, really tough again this year, and so it is not going to be an easy road at all.
Let me tell you my two observations on that real quickly. We're talking, first of all, parity in NCAA hockey. The parity has become very evident that there are a lot of really good teams. Here's where I think that parity affects ASU. They play an independent schedule, which means that they do not have and I just spoke about their mini gauntlet with Vermont, Denver, Michigan State. I talked about that. But when you're a team like North Dakota, for example, and you've got Western, and you've got St. Cloud State, and you've got Minnesota Duluth, and you've got Denver, and you talk about the NCHC, I'm just using that as an example, but is there ever an off weekend there? I mean, can you ever afford to have any hiccups if you want to continue on? Whereas, and I don't want to take anything away from Vermont because they're certainly a great program, but they're coming here, and if ASU does what they're supposed to do, they're going to sweep Vermont, and they're going to go to 8-4, heading into a huge weekend series against Denver. So that, I would much rather take on Vermont at home than, say, for example, travel to Western Michigan if I'm a North Dakota or whatever. And the same thing for the Big Ten. We know there's no goaltending in the Big Ten. That's not allowed to bring in a stellar goaltender. Oh,
Except
boy,
for Notre Dame.
I'm gonna get beat up on that one.
Except for Notre Dame.
Yeah, but you have teams that can beat each other. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan State. Just go right down the list. Notre Dame. So when they're fully into their conference schedule, it's a gauntlet, right? And that's why you saw, what did you tell me last week? There were 9 ties, one a night?
9 ties. And a 10th game went in, I think went to a shootout. Yeah,
so that's the parity I'm talking about. But that's why you see ASU as number 10 in the pairwise, I think, because these teams are, is ASU better than Minnesota Duluth right now? I don't know. I don't know if they are. But Minnesota Duluth has had to play a gauntlet of a schedule so far. And even though they may play good, somebody has to win and somebody has to lose, or it's a tie. And if it's a tie, that doesn't help you in the pairwise rankings.
Doesn't hurt you, though, either. But
no,
listen,
no.
I'm going to say this, okay? I don't know how the season's going to turn, but once again, Alaska went on the road this weekend and got a split at Northern Michigan.
I know.
So, who knows just how that's going to keep going. There's just right now, there's just a lot of different things going on. And, it's just crazy. UNH is playing better over in Hockey East. UConn upset Lowell at Lowell this weekend. Sacred Heart ended up beating RIT, which had been playing really well, in a sweep this weekend, including a 14-goal offense fest. And that doesn't even include AIC's 12-0 win over Mercyhurst.
Yeah.
So,
ouch.
There were all kinds of crazy results over the weekend, and you just can't. There's just no. Right now, nothing is settled. Obviously not. It's still early in the year, but I don't think this first month and a half of the season has gone the way anybody thought it would.
No, I agree.
So there's your parity. Okay.
That's a great note to end it on this week. We talked a little bit about everything. I do want to shout out a couple of things. Our good friend Hiroki Wakabayashi is now entering week 3 of his chemotherapy treatment. If you want to know,
I do.
How tough that is.
That is, it is so tough. It is. It is.
It's not just the treatment, Paul, right? It's everything else that goes with it.
Listen, for people that kind of know how cancer gets treated but don't really know, here's a simple layman's way of you're poisoning yourself to try and cure yourself.
Yes.
Between the radiation and
very good analogy.
So you're trying to limit the damage done by the poison, hoping that it gets most of the cancer cells. So and it definitely will do damage even if you survive it. You're not. It is going to be a fight that you're going to lose some. It's just a matter of how much, and you hope you just break even.
Right. I hear you. Very well said.
Keep it up, Hiroki.
Okay, so the auction starts December 1st. We've got some jerseys coming in from all over. We've got a signed stick by the Coyotes, which could become very valuable by the end of the year if they continue to play they are. So keep watching for that. We'll have more information the next week or so about how that gets started, how you can help.
Just bid on it because you're helping Hiroki. Forget about how valuable it might be or not be.
Exactly. Just good point. Good point. So we look forward to that. We messed around with a couple of new potential sponsors. I want to throw that out there. We also talked a little bit about the vehicle wrap. I put that out there now. We've got 3 spots on the vehicle. one for our weekly hockey talk show. That would be on the driver's side rear. And then on the back of the car is our spot, College Hockey Southwest Weekly. So we're looking for a sponsor that wants to get visibility. I estimate about 50,000 miles per calendar year, traveling the desert Southwest, parked at arenas, parked in different places, and moving up and down the roads. Great way to get exposure for your business. So welcome aboard somebody, whoever wants to take that step with their business. And then, of course, on the passenger side, we have our Sunday special, which we're going to rekindle in earnest just as soon as we find that title sponsor. So we're looking forward to that. The sponsors that we do have, we love you. We appreciate all that you do for us behind the mask. Our friends over at OxyPow. We have our friends at Oceanside. We have our friends over at Ice Den, Scottsdale, and Chandler. Right. We've got our friends at M Drive, who always drives us. And by the way, Paul, I've got an M Drive package that I swear to God is going to go in the mail to you along with some other goodies that I've been promising. Yeah. I'm waiting to get them all together. Now I may just keep them till December, though, because why not give you a Christmas gift?
Well, then I can't use them until I get them.
So anyway, but the guys at M Drive have been fantastic. We're looking at a couple other different people. I had a nice visit with Alisa Klein of Roger Klein and the Peacemakers and Roger Klein's Mexican Moonshine Tequila. They are definitely coming on board with us after the first of the year. They're having a brand change. They're not going to be known as Mexican Moonshine anymore. It's going to be Roger Klein's Tequila something. So
do they sell that at College Bar and Grill?
I'm guessing they do.
You like the way I segued that in there?
Nice job. That was coming up next. College Bar and Grill. Our guys.
Don't forget about OxyPow.
Just a couple of weeks. I got OxyPow in there. Fantastic Friday coming up in a couple of days. So just a quick breakdown while we got a minute here, just to go over what's happening this week. I came up here for Vegas Golden Knights in Toronto. Right. No game today. Tomorrow it's Coyotes in Toronto and UNLV.
Hopefully the game ends the same way.
Yeah. And then Friday we've got ASU women playing their first home game of the season, if you can believe that. Followed by against Utah, followed by ASU ACHA D1 against Utah. Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock, it's game 2 of UNLV and U of A in Tucson. And then in the afternoon, it's going to be ASU women again with Utah in game 2. And then after that, it's going to be ACHA ASU D1 against Utah. And then Sunday, our old friend Dave Tippett comes to town with the Edmonton Oilers against the Arizona Coyotes on Sunday. So lots of great hockey action. Get out and see some, support your local team, do what you have to do what we want to do, which is grow the game of hockey in the desert Southwest. Can't think of a better way to end it, Paul.
Other than happy anniversary to you and Terry?
No.
Isn't that this week?
No, that's her
birthday.
Did
I miss something? Her birthday. I'm sorry. Happy birthday, Terry. I knew there was something going on there.
Yep, that's coming up. And our anniversary is back in September, so not on that. But the birthday is coming up, so we'll go out and do something good while we're in Vegas tonight.
Nice.
Take in a show somewhere along the way and hope that we don't get snowed in, wondering how we're going to get home in this terrible, disgusting 57-degree weather.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Minnesota.
All right, my friend.
Okay.
Have a good week.
Thanks
for tuning in, folks, on College Hockey Southwest Weekly. Get it wherever you can find your podcast. If you're hearing us, you've got it. If you're watching us, that means you've been to our website, our YouTube channel at Icetime SW, or the hockey website at IcetimeHockeySW.com. For Paul Hornstein on Long Island, I'm Scott Strande. This week in Las Vegas, Nevada, saying a fine farewell and watch some hockey, and tune in next week when we're previewing a huge series for ASU against Vermont, and enjoy some turkey while you're at it.
Yep. Have a good night, Scott.
Pre-game like a pro, post-game like a champion at College Bar and Grill. Located across the street from the iconic A Mountain and Sun Devil Stadium and a quick walk from Wells Fargo Arena, College Bar and Grill is your home for the best local craft beer, delicious creative cocktails, tasty food, and Tempe's best atmosphere for Arizona State athletics. College Bar and Grill. Pre-game like a pro, post-game like a champion. Online at ilovecollege.co.
Hey, Michael here from M-Drive. My dad, a world-class scientist, actually made M-Drive for himself to stay active and continue enjoying life. And yes, M-Drive supports healthy testosterone, but it's so much more. M-Drive is the everyday supplement to fuel your drive with more energy and more strength. Listen, we'd love for you to try M-Drive too. Visit mdriveformen.com and we'll give you 20% off your first purchase. Just type in the code DRIVE at checkout. Refine your prime with M-Drive.